put that in the budget?
Like they have at the beauty parlor where you push the massage button.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Texas card.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is a special town council workshop meeting for Monday, 11th, 2026. The subject for this evening is going to be our ethics board policies and our proposed Scrivener ordinances. We'll start off with public input. Does anybody have a public input or anything they wish to say on a subject matter that is on the agenda or even off the agenda?
I brought some, I still want to talk about I don't know how the workshop's going to work. I want to talk about the ethics part, but I don't know if the workshop's
Yeah.
going to be an open part or how that, so you guys have to tell me when.
Yeah, we'll take an input now for the public for the ethics part. So let's go ahead and handle your part right now. And then we're going to talk about, we'll split it up to just council members.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to trip the workshop.
Yep.
Open workshop or.
Name and address if you get a chance, Mitch, please.
Of course.
Mitch Dornick, 980 Crepe Myrtle Lane. So in the last council meeting, I spoke during the public hearing time about the ethics, the proposed ethics document, and some concerns that I had around that. First of all, thank you for doing the workshop. Appreciate that. And, when I was in business, my philosophy with my team was don't just bring me a problem, bring me a solution. Given the 3-minute window last time, there really wasn't a chance to bring solutions forward. I only brought problems forward. So tonight I have, and I'll pass these around, but I have some documents that are some proposed, thank you, that are just some proposed ways to think about some of the problems, if you will, that I brought up last time relative to that. And so, happy to step through these if and when it makes sense, but wanted to just share this to kind of start the discussion a little bit. Thank you.
Are these, so just question, are these the same things you brought up last time?
It's the topics, but what I didn't bring up last time was any way to address any of the things that the topics brought up.
And you have
So I
those,
identified like 7 points that were concerns.
okay?
This kind of goes back to those points, but then, some suggestions on maybe how we approach addressing those concerns in the actual ordinance itself.
This is what you brought last time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, just for public information on this subject then, he has issues and he has subjects. We'll put this as part of the package online as far as agenda items for this meeting, so everyone can read his solutions. And what we're going to do on this process is we're going to take this discussion and then mold it through next month for potentially a proposal in June. So that's what we're planning on doing.
Can I ask him a question?
Sure.
So when you say gap one, how does that tie to this one?
They're probably not.
Oh, they're not?
They're not, I didn't number them
Oh, okay.
directly to it.
Okay,
but the
I was
same
trying to
issues.
cross-reference it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I should have. But the same, it should be the same exact issues,
Okay.
same concern.
Sheila, are we on the air? Are we live?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, you want a picture of it? Cool.
Cool. All right, is there any other public input for the ethics portion of this workshop? The answer is none. I'll close the public input section, and we'll enter to my direction on how we're going to run this meeting and where we're going to go from here. So we all agree that ethics is an important ordinance to have in our ordinances and stuff. So the process I'd like to use tonight, and we'll accomplish through this workshop, we already had the public input from the citizenship. Then next we're going to call in turn each one of our council members who wish to speak to their specific items they want to bring up for the ethics final document, final ordinance. We have a base document that we've used in the past, we've adjusted it, and now we have still continuing conversation on it. Each one will discuss their case and additions or exclusions as they see fit. Lastly, after a period of questions and discussion, each council member presentation will be held. During the discussion, Sheila will be keeping track of items that we find have a consensus of agreement and things that don't have a consensus of agreement. Remember, we are not voting on or either on acceptance or denial. We're here to just discuss our viewpoints and items we'd like to see inside a ethics ordinance. We're here to listen to subject matter, input, and overall concurrence. After this workshop, the staff and I will incorporate, review this meeting, and hopefully present a product in June council meeting for incorporation into our ordinances. So I'd like to start off with items that I had, I guess, which was just one. Start off with my stuff. I don't know what page it's on. And we can refer to that on page 6 of the original ordinance that we had, which was as we remember that this ethics ordinance was an accepted ordinance previously and had been removed by a previous council. But my only adjustment was to remove the number C, which was, except for the town administrator, town secretary, and town attorney, without the permission, the town administrator and the town council. So it was, no council member shall meet with anybody without the permission of the town administrator. I said, that's not right. But I do want the town administrator informed. If any one of our council members has an issue, we want you to inform the town administrator that you're gonna go talk to somebody about it and get to the bottom of the issue that you might perceive. That way we don't have anything that we don't know what's going on in the town or with our employees. We only have 6 employees. It's not like we have a big group of 300 people, so. But I recommend we remove, and I have it highlighted in my change, remove the permission and just says informing the town administrator. Anybody have any discussion on that input?
I had highlighted that one. Oh, that's right, I'm automatic. That's dangerous. I highlighted that one too, Mayor, and I would just add to that your comments, and it's in my write-up. I think we need to kind of define what meet means. Is it formal or informal? Because, for example, I ran into Chief of PD, Roger, at the Quick Trip, and we talked for about half an hour about the staff and hiring process and all that. I mean, without, clarification, I guess that would have been a violation had this been in place, right? So, we're a small town, and there's always going to be informal bump-ins with guys and ladies, right? And you're going to talk about some stuff, so now I think we need to try to
All right, we'll take a look at that.
clarify what's.
Troy will make a note of that, and we'll straighten that out for the final product.
Because
No, I think we're talking about problems with ethics or problems with, you see something happening that you want to get to the bottom of or whatever. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here. Not just saying, how you're doing, how your kid's doing, that kind of stuff.
Well, this was
So,
more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a deep conversation about
Yeah.
the staff and all that.
I do believe that if you're having conversations about staffing or hiring practices and all that, that's probably not the best thing to do without coming through the town manager, because we don't know what we don't know what's going on. And, we make the decisions, I think, for the budgeting and all that. And I think sometimes those conversations morph into something more. But as council people, I think it's our responsibility to not do that.
And I agree with Paula in that case. I do think that, any kind of policy discussion has to go through the town manager, to the town manager, more than on a one-on-one basis at a 7-Eleven somewhere. So if we could learn from the process, bring things that you want through policy, through the town manager, through the mayor, and we'll, of course, relay it through our attorney too. But,
I want to make a comment
Please.
about that, okay? So one thing everybody needs to be clear on is their role as a council person and what are their responsibilities and what are the town manager's responsibilities. And so, yeah, definitely, I think if they have a concern, because the council members hire and fire the attorney, the manager, and the secretary. So any concerns they have about anyone under their purview, they need to take those directly to the manager, and that's or the secretary.
True. All right, so we'll straighten that one out and clear that up for us. So that's the only comment that I had. Next, we'll go to Victoria Hubbard. Are you ready? Are you prepared?
I am. We're not going in order like we want to.
Okay, no, well, you can. Okay, Jeff, you're next. Flip pages.
So I approach this as you set this up, like this was going to be a base document versus a total rewrite. So
Yes.
I just had a series of questions that I wanted to clarify to make sure I understood what this base document was. And we've already talked about one of them. The first one on my list is on page 3, number A, where it says, you can't voluntarily participate on behalf of others in any litigation or municipal court proceeding to which the town might be party of. So I guess my question is, what happens if I'm witness to a crime involving staff or PD or, I mean, I will be involved in a litigation.
I think clearly that would end up being a lawyer.
Well, right. And
we'd have our
what I
town
would say
lawyer
is,
involved.
the way this is written, it says private interests of others. I mean, if you're talking about a crime or something like that where you're a witness, that's a very different thing than, I mean, private interest could be anything from someone's personal property to someone's real estate. I mean, you know, private interests, I think, is something very different than being a witness to, whether it's a crime or something else wherein your testimony would be required. And also, it says represent any private interest of others in any action or proceeding involving the town. I mean, to me, that speaks of a lawyer, an attorney. And I mean, certainly, and not at this point in time, none of you are attorneys by profession at this point in time. But I think, you know, that would be the only thing that would come into play. Or if I, as your town attorney, were to get a call from someone living in Copper Canyon and said, I want to sue the town. Well, it would be ridiculous because I'd be representing you, but I would say that, you know, you just have to look at every circumstance. So, and I think that, and I didn't write this, just, so I think that's what they're saying. And then to say voluntarily participate on behalf of others in any litigation or municipal court proceeding to which the town might be party. I mean, I would assume that would mean, I mean, if the town has given someone a ticket, whether it's for code enforcement violation or speeding ticket or anything else one could get in municipal court, which they're generally Class C misdemeanors, you know, if you showed up to represent that individual, I mean, and that would be a clear violation of your fiduciary position as a council person. So,
Yes, any kind of litigation, I think the purpose of this, any kind of litigation process, any council member would be involved with, would immediately demand our town attorney be brought into, so the town is not represented in any kind of legal action that we don't want to be into.
So it says voluntary. I
Yeah.
assume that excludes if you were deposed or something. I mean, then I'd have no choice.
well, right,
Right,
because you're
yeah.
going to be subpoenaed.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right, okay, all right.
So what's, Mayor, excuse me, what's the decision on that one?
Decision is that's, no, I think that, we explained that.
I think we're okay with the language.
Okay.
Any gift, page 4G, remove any gift. I'm trying to keep it moving along because we do have a time frame.
Yep, so, well, that's why I
Yep.
strongly
good.
recommended a workshop, because we
Yep.
can't do this in a council meeting.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess on page 4 then, number 3, that's the same topic, represent or appear on behalf of private interests of others. That's
Yeah.
similar. And then it's got page 5, there's 2 items on page 5, G and N. So G is an occasional item with a value less than $50. I mean, I don't know where $50 came from. Are we comfortable with that
That's a
dollar amount?
state regulation.
Yeah, that's a state
It's a state regulation.
That's a state?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Right.
that explains that, Sheila.
Yep.
So we're good?
And then N, an occasional meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner where public business is discussed. That one can kind of be a slippery slope. You know, for example, let's say a builder or developer asks you out to lunch or dinner,
I'd be paying for my own lunch.
you know?
I would advise to never do that,
Never do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
okay?
Because you're gonna make decisions on him later on, or her. Don't wanna be sexist. Okay,
What's the other? Page 6, number 10.
okay,
Prohibited from participating in any political process solely in his or her individual capacity. So if I wanted to be the Denton County Republican Party chairman, or I wanted to be the campaign manager for a state representative, is that
where is that?
where are you?
page 6, number 10?
So this says the prohibition against gifts shall not apply to the following examples. Am I looking at?
No.
Okay. Yeah,
Page 6,
yeah,
number
so
10.
number 10,
Yeah.
but when I back up, what's the genesis of it?
I don't see that.
I mean, I'm the final interest,
That's all the way on page.
okay, all right, so okay, I see.
It says that you're prohibited from that's meaning, if you go to the top, it says that you are allowed to do that. I mean,
I am allowed to do that.
to go as a private citizen. You cannot be prohibited from participating in any political process solely in his or her individual capacity as a private citizen.
Right.
That means, we can't tell you who to vote for, who to,
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Where's the genesis? I'm
The
sorry.
genesis starts here. It's A, B, no town of the officer
Okay,
of
got
the
it.
town shall this, but then it goes on, that's 3, then 4, the financial interests contemplated under this paragraph, blah, 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 an actual financial benefit from the transaction shall not include, then it names 2 things. Then it says, now it is confusing, it says no
Right.
officer of the town shall.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, and so, what I would say about that is, I don't think you can be prohibited from participating in a political process in your individual capacity as a private citizen. That is your absolute right as an American, at least this week.
Yeah, I don't think we want to intend that. If we have that in here, we're gonna remove that, wordage, if any prevention. But I do want to mention, it is in our ordinances that the only representative of the town, the only official representative of the town in any operation outside of the town is the mayor.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's not my turn, but that's where this is the only issue that I have, is that we have an ordinance 1.03.045, and there's a lot of pages that this is kind of starting to get murky, where we have a lot of pages with a lot of words. Is it okay if I
No, go ahead, Deb. It's always your turn.
really speak? Okay. So this is where I'm really starting to, why I don't have a lot of commentary and why I didn't have a lot of language written. And I've kind of waited. We're getting into a lot of language here and talking, but what I'm seeing is that there is a conflict between this and our ordinance. And what I'm seeing is that we have examples that include council member must be respectful of differing opinions, and seems to be I want to see what the gap is between the code of our ordinance and our ethics here. there are pages and pages of information that already talk about sanctions if we step outside of things that we ought not do. And I see accountability language and what talks about council conduct and media and respectful conduct and treatment and board and committee behavior and sanctions for misconduct and conflicts of interest and removal and reprimand mechanics and standards of public behavior. We already have that in our ordinance. So now we are rewriting this over here in the ethics. And so I'm not understanding why we're kind of beating the horse, I guess.
I totally, I get where you're
I
coming.
mean, Deborah, can you help me understand
Well, I mean.
what's happening here?
Let me say this, I'm just here to interpret the law and answer people's questions, okay? So that is not a question that I can or should answer for you, okay?
Why not?
Well, because I was presented, with an ordinance, asked to review it, and
But you also are our lawyer, and can you not give advice if I ask it?
yes, I can give advice, but I think, the specific question you're asking is, why are we doing this when it's already, so many of these are already included in our ordinances? I mean, the only answer that I would give to that, and it's a generic answer, is many towns don't have ethics ordinances. They rely solely on the kind of the state thing, and, but I mean, this is a decision for this council to make.
Okay, well then let me ask it like this.
Can I give you a little historical issue with this? Because I'm
Well,
been
can I
involved
ask
in
it
this.
another question then? Let me ask it like this then. Would we not be in trouble, or would we not confuse ourselves, or would we not cause extra problems for ourselves if we have an ordinance that already is addressing certain factors, if we are not careful to write an ethics ordinance that is conflicting with the ordinance that we already have? Is that logical?
Can I, let me say something.
Okay, can you
So,
help out here?
yeah, I know what you're saying. Let me say, so I'm going to mention a historical issue, and then I'll mention double covering issues. First of all, the historical issue, this original ethics ordinance came in when we didn't have anything. Those things that are in our current ordinances were never there.
Right,
So that's where that came in. Then that was taken out, and the other part was inserted.
right.
So now we do have duplication of ethics direction, right? But I will say this, double covering ethics is typically not a bad thing. You're not gonna be, one portion of the ordinance does not say you can go ahead and rob a bank, while the other portion says you
No,
can,
of
you can
course
stop, or you can't rob a bank. So there's no disconnect or discontinuity in that. But there is coverage, overlapping coverage, covering the same words, covering the same issues. And so that's why we have double coverage with this ethics ordinance that was in our ordinances, was thrown out, and now we have some language that you've been referring to absolutely in our ordinances. So we'll make sure that our coverage doesn't overlap when we get the final document, as we work towards something to accept in June.
I would just want to, my only notes would be that I want to make sure that, say we have a builder. I want to make sure that that builder only looks in one location for the schematics to build when he is looking to pull a permit. And those are the only places that he looks to get the ordinance for the things that he's looking for to make sure that he's not confused about the things that are the laws and the regulations and the ordinance, or whatever the information is for the town of Copper Canyon, to ensure that he is not confused about the things that he needs to follow.
That's why we hired the company though with the streamer notes, because.
Correct.
So that's an entirely different situation than this, because they so once they see it, possibly we have them go through it and look for things that are like. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's how.
Make sure the
we're-
language is the same.
Exactly. And so that's another step down that we're gonna give to Ivan after we muddle through all this.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I'm looking at this piece here, and I'm looking at what we're doing, and I'm seeing that there are two parts that are looking like we're doing.
And it's a very good point, and we will make sure the final product that you see, maybe in June, won't have any conflicting ordinance, any wordage that conflict with what's currently in our ordinances. This is not something that absolutely has to be done. We can work through this process.
But if I can make a comment,
Sure,
I think
absolutely.
that it is valuable to have it, even if there is some overlap, so long as the language does not conflict, because the reality is, the ethics ordinance is not going to cover a builder. It covers those of us that were
That was just an
elected.
example.
Right, but that's the thing.
It's a metaphor.
We have
It's a metaphor.
we have one place that we know where to check, and it's not just that. We want to make sure to provide guidance to our citizens, that they don't have to go looking for the particulars of whatever our ethics are in this ordinance and that ordinance and that ordinance and put it together. They can go to the ethics ordinance and go, okay, so I witnessed this is a clear violation, or it's not a violation. So all they have to do is they go to one place. Simplicity for our citizens, I think, has an intrinsic value over having to pick and choose and try to find it through all of our ordinances.
You're actually speaking to my point.
Okay.
That's actually what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Very good.
Thank you.
And I just want to say one more comment about that number 10, which is be prohibited. If you put it all together, it is specifically saying no officer of the town shall be prohibited
Be
from
prohibited.
participating.
That's correct.
So is that an opportunity to kind of clean that up or make that?
No, that makes
clearer?
sense.
Are you,
Well, no, I'm saying it, what it
you
said.
comfortable with the way it's?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's,
okay,
I'm comfortable with it, yeah.
okay.
But it says
Okay.
right here under 4, the prohibition against gifts shall not apply to the following examples,
Exactly.
including but not limited to.
Okay.
And that's under there. It's confusing, but it is
Okay.
stated correctly.
All right.
About
It's
it.
last two
Please.
quick points. On page 9, number B, it's got a $10,000 number for conflict of interest. Is that a state number also?
I'm sorry.
Page 6, number B, the bottom.
Page 6B, okay.
Why 10,000? I would think if we had a relationship with anybody of any amount of money, we'd want to.
Isn't the state rule 15,000 for financial interest? Ms. Deborah?
I am not 100% sure what the state rule is on that,
Okay,
but we can certainly find out.
okay.
I would think the lower the better. Right, I mean,
Well,
$10,000 is still a lot of money.
Sheila, will you mark that comment?
Here's the thing, you know, what I would say, and I've seen council members on this council do this, is, you know, if something like that comes up and you have really almost any kind of interest, I think the best thing to do is to just recuse yourself and not vote. And I think it's certainly appropriate to have a limit in the ordinance if you want to do that. But I think the better practice is to just recuse yourself and not vote if you have any kind of interest.
So I'd like Sheila, if you would please, in that number, put a note there to study what the state limit is relative to interest. And then we'll figure out through in the next month what number we'd like to have there. How's that, Jeff?
And, good, that's fine, yep. And my last point's on page 8, number 6. And actually, P and Z Commissioner Dornich captured this in his write-up too, but where in here does the town council have a process or the ability to remove a council member or the mayor or staff or anybody that's
You don't.
violated this?
You don't. You don't have that.
There is no recourse.
We don't have that here in our town. In our
There's
city.
actually
Well,
not an
what's
entire
the point of-
It's a state law are certain, between general home rule and our town, it's a law. I mean, that keeps, once again, revenge or any type of tactic like that. I mean,
Well, it's got to be supermajority vote, but
you have to have a petition of so many people who voted.
Right, yeah.
People can
It's
remove.
a
vote
it's a
of the
legal
town.
process.
so,
It's a vote of the town.
so then if one of us violates anything in here repeatedly, then what's the action?
Well, you have the mayor can do reprimand, the town council can vote for reprimand, and it can vote for action, but it can't vote for removal
It
from
can't
an
be removal?
from an elected official.
Interesting,
Yeah,
very interesting.
very, very difficult.
Well,
Only
that's very typical.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I know. It's-
yeah.
Yeah.
But we can, like, an officer, though,
Oh, yes.
yeah. And what would be an example of an
Well,
officer?
okay, so, again, the only individuals, or the only positions that the town council has authority to hire and fire are the town attorney, the town manager, and the town secretary, okay? If there were to be other employees, and as it has been pointed out, there's only 6, that is the purview of the town manager, okay? To fire those employees, and then
But that's actually handled under the employee handbook.
That's correct.
It's not covered by this.
That's right.
Right, exactly.
And as you pointed out, this is for town council, I
It's
think.
town council, the boards.
That's right.
Exactly.
So do we
Yeah.
need 6 in there, then? I mean, it's
Where are you looking now?
page 8, number 6.
Page 7.
Well, it says an office from an officer other than a council member.
So officers,
That is, you've got your planning and zoning commission, your board of adjustments. I think in the beginning of this ordinance, it says here, it defines officer.
oh,
It means any member of the town council and appointed member, the planning and zoning, board of adjustment, committee or other office as defined by state or by ordinance, state law, or otherwise appointed by the town council. And then what this specifically says is, where is it again?
Okay.
I've lost it. Okay, seek to remove from office an officer other than a council member.
Right.
So you're talking about planning and zoning commission, you're
Board
talking
of
about board of
Adjustments.
adjustments, you're talking about if you had some kind of committee, basically, and I understand there's you have an ordinance that it's a little different relating to that, but I mean, almost always in every town, boards serve at the pleasure of the town council, so.
Exactly.
Elected officials are where it's a little dicier. You have to do a recall and all that, but appointments are appointments.
They're
You can be
appointments, that's right.
unappointed.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's
Or
exactly
disappointed.
right.
I'll go next, because
All right.
it's short.
If you wanted to recall, I mean, what would happen is there would have to be a petition. It has to be, and I don't have the exact in front of me, but it has to meet certain criteria. It gets filed, and then you get signatures on it, and then if you get a certain percentage of registered voters, it's either registered voters or voters of the last election, then you hold an election, okay? And that's how that works, so.
And there is a state process. All right, Jeff, you okay?
I'm done, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mine is fairly
Let's go with Paula.
short. I want to say in the beginning, I have done a deep dive into other towns similar to Copper Canyon. The Code of Ethics for Bartonville is 3 pages, including their definitions. Same thing with Lake Dallas. I think that we can be a little bit far-reaching in this, and I hope it's not something that would discourage volunteers for the town if we got to deep dive into it. On page 5, Item 8, engage in any outside activity which will conflict with or will be incompatible with his or her position as an officer of the town. My question is, who's going to take the responsibility for codifying these judgments? With this town growing, we have so many different cultures, we have religions, we've got political leanings, and I feel that this is a little bit overstepping the boundaries of a governing entity that we say that you're incompatible with your position. On page 5, Item 13, it says properties or facilities for any other purpose other than the conduct of official
Can I-
town business.
Before we go on to the next subject, would you mind? So what is your recommendation that you want to do with item 8, page 5? You want to remove it, just get rid of it?
Yeah,
And what's the consensus of the town council on that subject to do that?
What would be an activity that conflicts?
Paula?
I mean, I can't think of one. I mean, if I vote one way and somebody else votes another way, are they saying that I'm conflicting with my
Well, it's an
position?
outside
Well,
activity.
It's an outside activity, that's a, what would be, I mean, I would think if you had somebody on the town council or somebody on a board or commission that, for example, was a developer, a builder, okay, that might be
I think
something.
that's probably that's actually a really good example.
Yeah, that might be something that,
Say you took a job, you know, one of the council members took a job working for a developer who builds in the town, okay? But they're like, I'm not applying, you know, I think that's what it's referring to, okay? Something like that, where something's gonna come before town council on which they're gonna have to take a vote.
yeah.
Well, I mean, and does that apply to serving on other boards that might, you know, have some kind of conflict in the county? I mean, I think we just need to define that. Because if you're on the council or P and Z and you're serving on another board, which might make decisions, I mean, I think that's speculative, and we might need to just define that. I mean, I get what you're saying, Victoria, that's a great point, and I didn't see that, but I think we just need to make sure that we codify that a little bit more.
I would think that maybe it would be an activity that is a paid activity, not a volunteer. If
We just
you-
need to make sure that, you
Yeah.
know, we
Well,
just define that a little bit more.
Right, and I think, you know, when you're serving on another board, say within the county, I mean, this gets into your right as an individual to participate in the political process, because, I mean, let's face it, when you're interested in being on council, you kind of have a political brain, and so you're always kind of, that's what interests you, you know.
We do have a clause, we do have a ordinance that says you can't serve on a board that has interest relative to our town, and we'll look into that.
Okay.
So
The second one real quick
Okay,
is that
well-
we just need to talk about, it says property or facilities for any other purpose other than the conduct of town business. I mean, we've all rented the town hall, maybe for baby showers or something like that, and I just want to make sure that that's not a conflict. If it's in there, it just says property or facilities for any other purpose other than the conduct of an official town business. If we have a baby shower for somebody or a birthday party and we have it here, that's not town business, so we just need to change that. And then, item 14, I still have a problem with engage in any conduct damaging to the town, because I want to know who's going to be on the committee that decides that. That's just, it's page 5, item 14. I have extreme issues with that because, you know, once again, we're all different people, and what I think and what,
I would think, can we not add a definition of what would be considered damaging to the town? An opinion,
I mean, I
Personal
think that's,
opinion,
I don't think that's our responsibility to do that.
I
We're
mean,
not,
well,
we're not a moral compass for the
No.
town.
I mean, in a way, this is a definition. It says including but not limited to, and what you know, what you get into is there's always gonna be, I mean, it's hard to think of
everything.
everything. It's hard to think of all the possible examples. And, you know, I think, I mean, frankly, I think if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. And I think that, you know, just, I mean, we've got things here, I mean, we could, it says materially undermines public trust and confidence in the town's governance. So I guess one could argue with the word materially means maybe what, you could do it a little bit, you know? So, I mean, we might be able to work on the language in section 13 to tighten it up.
Yeah, 13.
I do want to quickly address Paula's concern about number 12 on the baby showers. I would say unless the town hall is open to shower in it, then no, you should not be doing it.
But I think it is, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, then
No,
that's.
no, that's part of it. Anybody can rent town hall and you don't have to pay. I'm just saying that, it's just saying that we shouldn't use that, and since it's quantifying us as council people or board people, or, I just think that,
Would you say business purposes, use town facilities for business purposes? So you can use it for private purposes, i.e.,
yeah, I mean, we've used them for campaign parties
Grand-
since day one.
We
We
have?
all have meet and
yeah,
greets.
yeah.
And we invite everybody, but, I mean, everybody sitting up here has done that.
Well,
So I'm just saying, I get it, but I'm just telling you that we gotta be careful about that.
All right,
You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
I think we gotta be careful.
let me summarize, can I summarize, because all right, we got one more person to go through. So number 8, I think we are in consensus that that's okay, I think. Number 13, we need to work on defining the ability to use facilities by council members or staff for personal items like birthday parties, congratulations, graduations, those kind of things.
that was 12, I think.
Well, I'm just looking at the sheet here.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple different versions floating around.
That out.
Yeah, no, we're working on the language on that one then, Sheila, if you write that down. And then we have number 14, and I agree with Paula, who's gonna make the judgment on what's damaging? If we can just remove that or come up with some language to fix that sentence. And that takes care of your 3 concerns?
Thank you.
Okay. And let's go to Victoria, please.
All righty. Okay, so first, I guess, one of the things that I thought, part of it is, I think we should have just what we cannot do. The things that are, hard lines. I think the addition of the prohibitions doesn't apply to, it's on page, I gotta put my readers, page 4, number 4, and the prohibition against gifts shall not apply to. I think we're all smart enough to know what it doesn't have to apply to. We don't need to be told. If there is a question, I think that's why we have a town attorney. If when in doubt, we talk to Deborah. The others, I think, need to stay, although I would agree, there needs to be some clarification, but, whether or not T-shirts, meals and lodging, all that, I don't think we need to have that. I think that just creates, again, additional wordsmithing that doesn't need to be there. I think based on everything that I have looked and seen around towns that are small, that have this, and based on what we were taught at the conference, part of what I would like to see in the ordinance is codifying the process. How does a complaint submitted to the town, to whom, how it needs to be handled? In the original rewording, it said a complaint needed to be submitted within 30 days. That's too short. Based on everything that I've seen, what I have written is you should have at least 6 months, because sometimes it's not as clear as we think it is. There needs to be somebody that the complaint should be submitted. I know that the discussion had been, well, we don't need to enter into the ordinance the reporting of violations, or who becomes part of the commission that determines this. But the reality is that if it isn't in the ordinance, if it isn't codified, then that can be changed. If it's in the ordinance and it's codified, then anytime there's a change, it needs to come before the public, and we all, or whoever is here, needs to vote on it. There needs to be agreement. And I think for transparency, for clarity, to make sure that we are behaving in the best manner possible. The reporting of violations, the protection for whistleblowers, how are we going to handle evidence, the chain of custody, how long does somebody have in order to rectify a submission that perhaps is not correct or is lacking? That needs to be part of the ordinance, and that's why I included it in a section in red. And this is all based on what state law says, everything that I could gather from state law. It doesn't conflict it. And again, I think what it does give us some leniency is to determine who the Ethics Commission is, you know, because if we decide, okay, the ones that are going to determine whether or not there is something there is the town manager and the mayor, but the complaint is against the mayor, well, that creates a problem. So we need to have the ability for there to be change, for it to be loose enough that somebody else can step in and we can do right by our citizens. Part of it is, it's part of the discussion we had earlier, especially if it's a town council member. There isn't much that can be done. We cannot remove, the council cannot remove unless there's a recall election, a person that is found guilty cannot be removed, but at least they can be reprimanded, and that will be on their record. So I would like this to be included, because I think it has a lot of value if we codify it. Yes.
Okay. Are you done recovering what your issues are?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
Good points. I would like to mention a couple things. Chain of custody issues, if something evolves into that, where it becomes a police department operation where they have their own chain of custody operations, I don't see that putting it into an ethics, in my view, into an ethics ordinance would be required. Your point about reporting, about a reporting procedure and policy is a good one though, where maybe we do need to have some kind of direction to let our town manager, whoever that is, through the years, have ability to fill out a form, the complainant to fill out a form for us, so we can track it and get the process started. So Sheila, if you put that on the list for something on a reporting procedure policy in the ethics ordinance,
when I
from
was-
my view.
When I was talking about chain of custody, I'm not talking about a criminal. What I'm talking about is, what this speaks of is, when somebody makes a complaint, it cannot be based on hearsay. There has to be something solid, an email, that does require chain of custody. That evidence needs to be kept. And it's not a criminal investigation, because this is not. Unless it needs to be, unless it is a criminal investigation, you know, it can become that, but typically, these issues that come before an ethics commission are not criminal in nature, you know.
So you would want this information attached to the reporting process when it's first delivered to
Yeah.
the staff, either the mayor or
We want to
the-
make sure that whatever information is turned
Sure.
in isn't magically lost.
We develop that in the reporting process form.
Yeah, it is still evidence.
Janae, Paula, do you have any more comments? Relative to Victoria's things.
I think her comments are good. I think a lot of it is covered in Texas state law, which in particular, there's a whole chapter on whistleblowers. And obviously that would only affect, I mean, I don't even know how we would get into that. I do have looked through some of the stuff that Mitch brought. I think we need to take some time and put this together and see. I mean,
And we'll
this
be
is
doing
more
that.
than just a,
Well, we're not developing it today. This is gonna be a
Exactly.
process. We're gonna
No, that's what I'm trying to-
accumulate this information and process it and develop a document hopefully by June.
Right, hopefully.
Jeff, do you have anything else?
No.
Troy, would you have anything to speak on?
Nope.
All right. We have a lot more citizens have showed up. Would anybody else, if that closes our discussion for the town council members? I consider the town council member workshop session closed. I'll reopen the public input. If anybody has anything for the ethics ordinance that they wish to describe or mention. And I see none, so I'll close that public input. And we'll go to the next step. One last item on our workshop I'd like to talk about would be any proposed Scrivener ordinances updates. So we're gonna walk into fixing our ordinances. We have our professional at our audience now. Does any council member have anything they wish to update relative to the Scrivener ordinances, which we've been studying for the last month and a half?
I do have a couple of comments.
Janae?
So, let me get to my notes. Sorry, there's a lot of paperwork. So, sorry. Sorry, I don't have it right in front of me. So, I do have a couple of comments. I'll try to make it as quickly, sorry. I do note that there are a couple of, typographical errors that I still notate. Given what we had with the subdivision ordinance, I don't want to get into the nitpickiness of what we had previously. I know that I want to say thank you to the amount of time and effort that has gone into this. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of just, nitpicking it. I want to say that my goal is to approve, and I don't want to be a person who is saying, hey, let's get into 50,000 little errors. But I am a Miss 4.0. It matters, and I care about our town. And so those things really, really do stand out. It does bother me, and I will be in favor of approval if I could please have those things notated and be able to say, with those things be looked at and notated. If we could have a conversation, say, hey, let's get those taken care of. Because things like Copper Canyon are not capitalized. That really stands out to me. It matters. I care about our town. Those things matter.
Okay, we're gonna have those.
Secondly,
I'm sorry.
and I just want to say, secondly, I have pages and pages of notes, but and I apologize that I didn't send those in earlier. I work multiple jobs, and it just got the better of me. I can easily distinguish some of the straightforward drafting or typographical corrections, but a few seem into legal interpretation. For example, on page 7, there is some language that appears more than simple format editing. I'd be interested in hearing from our town attorney's perspective on whether that type of if that type of information is a little bit more into a modern drafting practice, or whether that standard kind of language should remain. So
Okay.
I'm just kind of curious, because I understood it that it was going to be more of like a recommendation of just kind of like language that was going to be like typographical. We were just going to do some formatting, and what I understand was that it was going to be changes. What the language that I heard, and this is the only thing I'm going to make a point on, the language that I heard was, and I need to pull it up, and I apologize, and I'll make it as fast as I possibly can. We have 5
Well,
minutes.
while you're doing that, let me ask Yvonne, would you mind coming up? He's the man that did the job for us,
Yes.
and we're still in the workshop phase here, so we're not deciding anything, and
It's
we're
just
not voting on anything.
It's just nothing, and if we could just have a conversation about it.
Sure.
And I'll make it as fast as possible. We can talk about it later. It's not a big, thing. On page 7, just real fast, we'll do it 5 seconds.
Which chapter?
It's 1.0.01.004, and if you could just help me understand, it's where you marked out the or and the word or may be read and the word and may be read or as the senses require it. And your note said you would recommend removing since or and in the legal text can have different interpretations and imply different requirements. I just want to understand, my sense was that when we were understanding my understanding was that we were going to be doing things that were gonna make more sense in moving different sections and, kind of doing wording, and that we were gonna do things that were gonna be more Texas, state coding and things like that. I'm just trying to understand from our attorney's standpoint, are we kind of entering into a space of more interpretive provisions, and that's more our attorney's purview?
No. I mean,
I just wanna
I
understand.
think what you've described is exactly what was going on.
Okay.
Or what was done by Yvonne was
Okay.
to strictly go in, correct inconsistencies in verbiage. And I can't think of any offhand, but there are a couple places where phrases are used or words are used that are not defined, and then a different word is used to describe something in different places. And then also, in certain places, the ordinance needed to change to bring it up to code with state changes, okay?
Is this a state change, or is this like if you use cat or dog versus cat and dog, is that more of an interpretive change?
Well, my fallback on that is when I do that, I always very specifically say and/or, okay? So I don't use one or the other, I use both to cover myself.
So we wouldn't remove it, we would change it, and that's more of an interpretive thing, and by removing it, now we're changing the interpretation of our ordinance.
So I can speak directly
Yeah,
to that
please.
one.
I think
Yeah.
we need to solve this problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, it's scrivener's errors. We're not going into changing any type of regulation. This clause is actually a very common legal document clause, and so it created a little bit of confusion as to what and or means in that sentence. And so it created more confusion in having it when there is a very legal basis on which each one means already. So when you define it in that way, you create a local almost amendment to a general legal term. And so we just removed it so it defaults to a legal term that is outside of specific language in here, just to be able to streamline that legal interpretation. And so not changing anything that it would or would not say and how it would affect any other legal language, but just deferring to the general legal definition instead of having one defined in here.
So it must say and, it must say or, it must say and or, it should never be interpreted as either one, and
Right.
they should have never put it in the first place. It's kind of
Yes,
literally
so
what it should
just
say.
cleaning that up and removing that so that it's just under the general law of what or and means, and not having something that could cause confusion down
So
the road.
bottom line, I'll finish it up with one
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Is that okay, Janae? Thank you.
Yes,
The one
thank you.
question, Yvonne, for the workshop is, did any of your changes in Scribner errors change any policies or procedures in the ordinances we have currently at Copper Canyon?
No.
It
Okay,
did not.
thank you.
Thank you. With that, I will adjourn the meeting, the workshop meeting, which ran for an hour. And thank you very much. I think it was excellent input by everyone. Let's take a little bit of a break for 1 minute.